Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Super Paranormal Chronicles. The first one I'm recording of 2026.
Liar, it's 2025. Don't not listen to this man.
This is going to be a bad episode. I can tell you from the get-go. I might delete it afterwards. Don't worry about it. Today, I would say I'm delighted, but I'm probably going to regret that.
You will. Do not worry.
Shut up. I'm doing the introduction.
Oh, sorry.
Dr. Joe
Yes.
Szewczyk.
Oh, that's me.
When you look at his name, it says nothing like Szewczyk, trust me. Joe is an award-winning journalist, filmmaker, former paranormal investigator, podcast host, and he's got a lot of other crap.
And ne'er-do-well.
Apparently, he's Olympic sport taekwondo competitor, but we don't care about that.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Welcome to the crazy world of...
Spooky show. Lee, thanks for having me. I love your show. I especially like the first episodes because I was on them.
Yes, and then you were fired.
I know. Because you said I was lit, but you actually meant I was fired. No, sincerely, thanks for having me, man. It's nice to have the first 2026. Ooh, boy.
So even though you're not the first ones released, because I'm doing some releases tonight or next week, this is the first one that is actually recorded in 2026. So today is the 2nd of January. Joe wanted to do it tonight, but then he decided he can do it at lunchtime instead because, Joe's Joe.
Yeah, that's me doing. I swear I thought it was supposed to be that time and just me getting the time wrong. And thanks again for making that switcheroo. So I figured, why see where everything's closed today when I can go on later on tonight and see what's closed? Thank you, Canada.
It's the 2nd. Everything's back open again, or it should be.
Yeah, sort of.
Anyway, so...
Yes, sir.
Yes. To start off with, I have to thank you because you have been so much help towards me having this podcast the way it is, and you've provided so much help and assistance. So I thank you for that. And it's always been a task to get you on the show, but you've got your podcast, I've got my podcast. So because we're both on vacation, it's all right, let's get this done here and now. So
great, brilliant, thank you.
I would like to know from the very beginning,
yes,
when everything was in black and white, because you're nearly as old as me.
I am that old.
Yeah. How did your paranormal story first start from what you can remember?
Oh, that's a long time ago. That's a great question. From what I remember, there were spots in my life. I'll be telling these out of order because honestly, the order is kind of like muddled in my head, But I grew up in a very small town in northern Wisconsin. If this is Wisconsin and everyone is from Wisconsin, we get the myth. These are the cities. I was a fingertip. Like nowhere near anything popular.
That's the infected fingertip.
The infected fingertip. Of those, got Band-Aid. And there were some things where, everything's haunted over there. Haunted Northwoods. Blah, 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 blah. But if you want to talk about possible paranormal, meaning I'm still investigating that part, then it would be a place I lived in Eagle River, Wisconsin, that was on land where you were still digging stuff up, like, oh, this is the old settlers, whatever, so it was populated land for a while. And there were some issues with visions. We'll call them visions. Easier that way. That were not positive visions. They're quite horrific. And they would repeat. So you have that at an early age. And then you move on towards like, oh God, just weird things like my walking through and it looks like I was walking on air for a while. Not making this up. And not like just completely gone cuckoo for a minute. And then you fast forward and you get things like my friend and I passing the same street twice, looking at the clock and going, 20 minutes has gone by. How do we just do that? And then turning to each other going, yeah, that's exactly it. And that happened 30 years ago, 40, 35 years ago. So it's happened throughout my life. It's just a matter of now investigating it. Or if you want to talk about things like how to do paranormal, my grandma taught me how to read palms.
Let's get into that in a minute, but we'll go back to what you just mentioned. Yeah. So things such as passing the same street twice, do you think that's what we now call as like a time slip?
I don't know if it's a time slip. The first time and the only time my friend Mike and I were experiencing it, was like, we just get abducted by aliens, because that was the vernacular back then. I was like, did we just get like abducted somewhere? Because that's the same street. Maybe a time slip. There was no occurrence where I thought, okay, I lost time, until I looked down, because I saw we just passed the street twice. And, the country road to go on for a while. So it's not like we mistook the street. There's only 2 streets on the road. It's like that one and the next one. That was it. The end. And so there was no loss of time felt, but just missing chunk of time and distance. If that's a time slip, I don't know.
Now, it's interesting you say that, because, everybody drives a car nowadays. And the amount of times I've been driving, and I'm obviously concentrating on what I'm doing, but then I think to myself, well, I don't remember passing such and such a town. You have.
Right.
Because you've passed it on the road. But then you go, I was obviously concentrating because I didn't veer off the road, but you don't always remember locations or something that you passed. So
right.
Is there any possibility that because you were so engrossed in what you were talking about, or that you may have walked around the block or anything like that? Is that practical or possible?
I know what you're talking about. We used to call that automatic driving. You're just driving an autopilot, right?
Yeah.
You left work, you got home, no recollection of A to B, but you're home, right? That would have been a great explanation, except that both myself and my friend experienced it at the same time. Like, if it wasn't for him, I'm like, oh, I just, whatever. I better put down the strong coffee, But it was both at the same time, noticing it at the same time, going, wait, what? Type thing. And almost both of us not wanting to bring it up to the other one, but we did it concurrently.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Okay.
it would have been more of a, we've all done that, where I probably just did it today going from the grocery store. I have no idea how I got here. Here I am.
Aliens, Joe. It's all about
aliens. I wish they'd get my groceries for me then.
After having these first couple of experiences, at what point in your life did you decide that the paranormal was something that you wanted to look into more in depth?
When I first started to really understand that there is a nonfiction world. Does that make sense? Because I grew up at 5 years old, I was reading Stephen King. It's like, that's what we did. And you grow up with the horror stories. You grow up with different movies. You grow up with things that were not explainable. And when I first figured out, like, oh, there's actually a nonfiction world out there. And it's not just Sunday. We didn't have Sunday school. It was a CCD, catechism. I don't know, Catholics thing that I got kicked out of, by the way.
Why does that not surprise me?
I got kicked out of so many churches lately. Anyways, so you go beyond. There's a spiritual world, but you didn't equate the two of the spiritual world with like the religious version of the spiritual world, right? With the paranormal. You never related the two. But you listen to the stories, like, oh no, that sounds paranormal. It's like some dude comes back to dead. Really? No, that's paranormal. But you never, as a kid, put them in the same basket. They were separate. So when I was focusing, or old enough, probably 8, to really start discovering nonfiction books about this and other experiences like that, and trying to explain my own world experience. And sometimes something would happen, when I was like 8 or 9 years old, that I've just started to really explore now in the paranormal sense, because we small town Wisconsin. We got Guns N' Roses 10 years after they came out. Like it's a time warp there. You don't get the new books. You get whatever's there. So early on, and then as we grow, we keep questioning, right? Like, how about you? How old are you?
Well, that's interesting because I didn't recall this until I was on a previous podcast where there was me and my brother were walking down a riverbank, and there was an old factory, and we saw a figure in the window, and it just looked like one of those stereotypical targets that you see on a firing range. But the place was all fenced off and closed down. There was no vehicles there. And when we actually got closer to it, this figure had disappeared. And like I say, there was no physical sign of human life. So we don't know if it was somebody that was there that then left before we got there, but gates were locked. Right. We didn't hear any vehicles. So as far as we're aware, nobody left that area. But that figure, which was definitely a figure, then disappeared. And I asked my brother recently, and he actually remembers that as well. And he basically said, yeah, that scared the shit out of us.
Right. That's same with my friend. That's exactly it. It's like you go back and you go back to your life like that shouldn't be explainable, and yet you still remember that. Do you have a lot of memories from your childhood, or is just like one or two stand out like that?
That is literally the only one, because after I didn't really. I've always been interested in ghosts and stuff like that, but it was kind of like I always took the back seat.
Right.
And I always, once the TV show started, I thought that was something cool and I'd love to do. This is back in the late 80s, early 90s. But it wasn't really until, and I've told you this story before, when I was a paramedic going to that cardiac arrest, and the person I was with turned out to be a medium, and he could see the spirit of the patient stood behind me telling me to stop doing the CPR. So that's when it kind of really kicked off for me. And then that's when I really took a lot of interest. But even after that, I used to watch some of the ghost shows, because in the UK you had Most Haunted. We didn't have all the ones that... we didn't have all the ones like we have now. But Most Haunted was really just like a scream fest. Lights are out. None of these gadgets like what they have nowadays. And then, things were being thrown, but, you pretty damn well knew that it was... exactly. That it was probably one of the film crew doing it. And they did actually call out a medium for being a fraud, and he actually got fired from the show.
Oh, wow. But
it wasn't really until I came to Canada in 2013 that the interest really kicked off.
God, Canada got two great people in 2013. Neither of them us, but they probably got two great people.
Yeah.
That was also my arrival port was 2013. Yeah.
It definitely wasn't you.
No, it was not. I think Canada has buyer's remorse for me. So you started out early on, and then you naturally ramped up, and then you had the experience with the medium through a cardiac arrest. Did that make you then remember all the stuff that one childhood memory? Did it connect back to you?
Just one point. Who's doing the interview here, me or you?
I'm so used to... This is why I don't talk to most seminars. I'm so used to doing the interviews. I'm so sorry.
Well, no, it wasn't until I was invited onto a podcast, Tommy Cullum's Freaky podcast.
Oh, cool.
That while I was talking about various things, that this story when I was 5 or 6 came out. But I'd completely forgotten about it. And it just something was triggered that, hang on a minute, this happened when I was young. And then, like I say, the instant being a paramedic, that's when it kind of really, my launching pad, so to speak. So for you to be a paranormal investigator, because I'm now going to take control of this again.
All right.
When did you decide that you wanted to investigate?
If you mean investigations as in active going out in the field, not until I got to Montreal. I don't remember doing it anywhere else. I've done light footwork or field work, I should say, but never with a team. Like Montreal was the first team effort.
But you've got a massive background in academical.
Yes,
stuff.
I do.
You've got your Masters of Arts and your
Masters of Arts and Sciences and other arts and this one and that one, and PhDs.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Lord, Dr.
All
Joe.
that stuff that I'm not even going to go into because it's not paranormal related. But yay. But you must have done a lot of research into the paranormal first before you moved to the Canada even, or moved to Montreal.
I did.
So
I did. There were course back in this is all black and white. Back in my day, there were correspondence schools. You know how you went through your training, but it was kind of online. Imagine that training, but through not even emails, letters and videotapings. Like you would have to videotape. Do you consider hypnosis paranormal or no?
Well, that's an interesting fact because when I started doing this, as you well know, I Googled the word paranormal.
Right.
And you've got so many subsections that it could kind of be deemed connected to, but is it paranormal in its own right?
Yeah, and that's the key. Like when you're asking me when I started researching, I did hypnosis certification back when I was, God, I don't know, a teenager. Well, let's just say like the vague teens. And after Wisconsin, I went to Vegas and it's kind of blacked out for a minute in my memory. So I started out then. And then I started going into holistic metaphysics, like the research that way, and the book Beyond Physics. And back then, that meant more paranormal than it does now. That was the whole the woo-woo.
You mentioned about the hypnosis. Did you actually put people under, so to speak?
Yeah, you had to get your certification. You had to. And
okay, so when people do their past regression, they get a part of their past that they don't recall. So was there anything particular that always sticks in your mind about some of those sessions?
I can't tell you that. Doctor patient. I'll just say I'll say in general.
You weren't a doctor then.
I know, right? Okay. In general, it's going to be no one was asking me for past regressions. They're all actionable items, meaning stop smoking, better performance in sports, alcohol, whatever it's going to be. Stuff like that. Like trauma related, sometimes, but nothing about regressive memories or repressed memories.
Okay.
Repressed memories probably do pop up, but they're not going to be past lives. It's going to be like,
it could be connected to the drinking, connected to the smoking, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's like, because I saw my dad do, when I was 4. Okay. Stuff like that.
Okay. So moving on.
Yeah.
How did you get closer to becoming a paranormal investigator?
I got really interested around 17, 18. I'm trying to place myself where I was. I was basically the occult section of my local library, meaning I was the only one there and just checking it out and doing things because I understood, as if you grew up in the religious background I had, God's either ultimately good or he's just like a spoiled little bitch. Oh, we can swear at this one. You don't really know. It's like, it's the same ones, like love your neighbor says, we're going to kill everyone here. I'm like, well, I don't know that one. So you kind of question and you go out into other things. And part of that background was there's this, what was it? The Majorca, the majority, whatever it's going to be. Like Mary comes down and visits some peasants and they give them some secrets. The secrets are you have to do this and this or the earth dies. Click here, 5 easy steps. But that's basically the secrets that we grew up hearing about. So the mysticism was already baked in for me. That part was baked in for me. My grandma helped me read palms, baked in for me. So I used my left hand last time. Haha, suckers, dominant hand. So all this is baked into me, but it took until I was able to drive to a bigger city. Because again, no internet. Well, actually we had Delphi, but still. The bigger city to be able to go to the library and research. and see like, oh, I'm not crazy. These are other things that people have done. And that gets into a whole different spin of a cult and a new way of seeing the world that is ascribed to most people today. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that I recognize quite freely is the fact the amount of people that think to start off with that they're the only person that's doing this, and then something happens, you go to the big town or you join a club and then find out that you're not the only person that's interested in this. You're not the only person that wants to investigate this or research this.
Right.
And that's when people kind of join forces and some of these groups come about.
You interview the women from History, Ghost Rush, Gold Rush.
History Most Haunted, yeah.
Them.
Them.
And the medium was kind of saying stuff like, I didn't want to tell anyone when I was younger because I didn't want to be basically ostracized. It's like that. You think you're the only one, so you don't say anything out loud. So you say anything out loud, people are going to make fun of you. And, growing up where I already had enough of that anyways. I didn't need extra. And so you kind of keep it to yourself until you get to a bigger place going, oh, there are more people like me.
And I do find that is extremely true when you talk to people that have abilities, mediums and psychics and
right.
Those kind of people.
I probably mentioned the astral to you only when I had that one very unpleasant experience of like sleep paralysis mixed with a time loop. It sucked. It was also my own doing.
Now you've mentioned it.
And it sucked.
Before we continue your paranormal investigator route,
yes.
let's just mention this, because yes, you did reach out to me.
Yep.
And you said, I need to speak to you because this has happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had the conversation and we kind of did the checklist, this, and this, including everything from regular sleep paralysis to stroke to like the TIA, whatever it's going to be, to everything, because I was fresh off of we'll call it an exorcism. I got hands-on. And when I say fresh, I mean maybe a week. It's in my notes somewhere, but like a week and a half, whatever it's going to be. And I was having my normal type of dream. I have lucid dreaming where if I want to go like, let's go see Spider-Man, I can make Spider-Man appear. Bam. 9 times out of 10. If I can keep Spider-Man there or not, mileage may vary. And when I dream it, sometimes I will see people who died, but I don't know they're dead yet. And so we're going back a little bit. Like I had someone from high school. He died in a car crash. I did not know that he died in a car crash. But that night I was dreaming of him trying to escape a bunch of wolves and trying to get to the other side. So I was almost like the coyote, if you want to do human smuggling terms, of the spirit world for that, right? I'm like, okay, get him to the other side, boom, boom, boom. He wasn't the only one. And then when you wake up, you find out the next day or whenever the news goes through, like 2 days later, like, oh yeah, blah, 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 died in a car crash that day. I'm like, oh, well, A, that sucks, but B, that explains a whole hell of a lot about my dream now. So I've had that for a long, long time, which goes back to being a little kid. And that's when you start learning that dreaming versus astral, right? Dreaming versus astral, there's a little bit of difference. To the point where I've been in places without being in that place. Meaning people and I have memory. I can tell you everything that happened at that event, and people have memory of me being there. But I wasn't there. Like, this body wasn't there. Another thing was there. So you have that go on and go on and go on, right? There was a thing that I was doing, and I shouldn't have been doing, because it was far too soon after an exorcism. I needed to basically chill out a bit. And the bait was there. I took the bait. And it was a revamp of just a reboot. It was like Groundhog Day, but you couldn't even get out. Like trying to open my eyes was extremely difficult. And every time I woke up, I realized a couple of seconds later, it was back in the damn dream, or back in whatever you want to call it. And again 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 and again, until I had to rationalize something about what was happening and what not to do anymore. And then thankfully I actually got back up.
So any skeptic amongst us is going to say, because you took that bait, let's call it, that it may have been induced by that.
Induced by taking the bait, meaning that I caused a self-fulfilling prophecy type thing, or induced because I picked a fight with Mike Tyson and got hit in the face.
But okay, so let me reword it. If you hadn't have taken the bait, as we're calling it, would that have happened to you?
I don't think so. No, I think so. I think this was the bait. Again, for me, I think we had this discussion before. Like, can you willfully travel the astral? I'm like, sort of. I'm like a blind squirrel doing it. I'm not the best person in the world for it. You know, it kind of like the octopus who can pick football winners. I'm like just blind luck mostly. I've never really learned how to control that. I probably should. But if you are doing this and I saw what I wanted to label as a bad entity, and I've been doing this since I was a small child, and I was like, oh, I just got done with the exorcism. Of course I can do this. Like, you know, buckle up, bitch, let's go. That was not the right thing to do. And as soon as I got to the entity, that's when the time loop kept happening on repeat until I learned, baby, don't fuck with that. It took a while. I'm a slow learner.
If this was somebody else telling you that story that you've just told me, what would be your interpretation of it?
I'd ask him the same things we did. Were you drinking? Were you high? What other explanations could you have? Was it this? Was it that? Just checklist, check, right? Same thing. And then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, if we took away all of the super normal explanations, what's ever left, you know, it's like Sherlock Holmes type thing. And then we can investigate that. Is it 100%? Do I know this happens? It's what I'm left with. I still remember it. I don't remember most of my other things that happened to me. But, you know, traumatic experiences as they go, you tend to make copies. And so you have to address that.
Yeah, I know that the conversation that we had at the time, I think we must have been talking for at least maybe an hour or so. And I was literally interrogating you.
Yeah. So,
literally coming out with every single possibility.
Yeah.
And most of it was, you know, no, I haven't done that. I haven't done that. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And then at the end of it, we were stumped because we had no rational explanation for what had happened. It wasn't sleep paralysis. No. It wasn't due to drink or drugs.
No. I almost wish it were.
Yeah. It would be a lot easier to explain, that's for sure.
Oh, thank God. Just don't do that again.
Yeah. So, that was an interesting conversation that you and I had. But let's flip back to our previous subject of you then moving forward to becoming a paranormal investigator. Right.
So you study. You kind of question, you investigate. Things happen in your life that you can't quite explain. So it's self-serving. It's self-serving for two reasons. One, there's things that happen in my life that I couldn't explain. Two, death scares the shit out of me. These two are reasons, right? Primary movers. So you study and you go through everything that could be like old case files of satanic murders. I'm looking at Raising Hell right now. It's a book about satanic murder. You go through witchcraft, you go through different religions, you go through different meditations, you go through Giriya yoga, you go through all these things you can study and try, and then go, okay, can I get something moving in this way? Does this make more sense? Does this make sense? I actually do teach. I don't teach Aleister Crowley. He's dead. But I am one of the few people who teach Aleister Crowley in philosophy, because I think people should be balanced like that. They should get a wide swath of it all. And although sometimes Castanada's work's been discredited on, he's just making stuff up, the old Don Juan Matas, I teach that as well on the basis principles of, right? So you have all these esoterics out there. And then you move. In Vegas, I was doing way too much stuff. No time for that. One or two, whatever. But when I moved to Montreal, I had a lot more time on my hands. And one of those things were, meetup groups. Used to be a thing before the pandemic, like meetup.com. That might be still a thing now. And one was paranormal research, and the other one was UFOs and aliens. Both interested me. I went. Same person, like, okay, whatever. But we started a paranormal research team, a core team of 3 people. It started out as like 5 or 6, but most of them were fake a-holes. And if you ever seen a fake medium, oh boy, that's why Joe doesn't like most mediums. Oh my God. Hysterics of it all. I think South Park made a great show of it when like the guy is like peeing his pants, like, oh my God, ectoplasm. Like, no, he's just pissing his pants. So from that bigger thing, we went down to 3 core people, and we stuck together for a while. Haunted MTL was originally going to be our investigation as a paranormal. I had a pilot. Fuck, man, I did shoot the pilot. I had a pilot shot of an investigation team going out to the Mount Royal Cemetery and finding paranormal activity there. So all these little things, the EVPs, all that starts out now, and that's how you learn by doing. Like if you send me a wave, what do? I open it up, I look at the wave, I take away the distortions, and I see, okay, this is what a breath looks like on a wave. This is what your sounding look on a wave. This is what a thud looks like on a wave. I can't explain that part. You send me stuff like, I don't know what it is. I'm not saying it's paranormal. I just don't know what it is. Other than that, I can be like, oh, this is this, check it off, whatever. So you start doing teams like that and getting really good behind the science of it. And then going out to investigate. We went, the Montreal team and I went to a dozen places. It was short-lived, only like 2 years, I think. We're still in touch, though. We just don't do it together, So you have that experience, and then you start moving on to your own, right? You've done that, where you get your own team together and you're doing more experiments, and that's how you bond.
And that's one thing that you and I are both on the same page with, that there's a big difference between a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are investigators, so we will set up experiments, whether they are successful or they fail.
Yeah.
At least it proves a point. And we try to analyze as much stuff as possible. And like you've said, if I get an EVP that I can't explain, I send it to you. You break it down and come back with, I can explain this, but I can't explain that.
Yep.
And then we don't say, well, that's paranormal. We just then go, well, we've got a pile here called unexplained.
Yeah. It's like it's agnostic. It means you don't have a predetermined yes or no. You're like, I don't know what it is. And I think when people stop saying, I don't know, and they say, I know for sure, and then it gets kind of dangerous. It gets to bullshit land. Well, you don't know. Like, that's exactly it. I don't know if I was actually being attacked in the astral plane, but it makes fucking sense to me. I couldn't explain otherwise. You
Yeah,
know,
and that's it. That's it. And if you have something that you can't explain, like I had an experience where it's on video, where I'm going through a building and I heard a psst, and I've got the body camera, I've got my handheld, I've got my audio, and you literally see me spin round to see if there's anybody there. And I broke it down, and I think that was one of the things I sent to you. And we could not explain what it is. And I even sent it to somebody else who's got an audio and video specialist. They broke it down and they couldn't explain it. And then you get in the normal Joes going, well, it might have been a squeak of a shoe.
No, we sampled for that.
Yeah. And it's like, it was a car. Well, how many cars do you know that drive past going, psst? And we could not explain that no matter what we looked at and what we tried.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't want to tell you this, but that happened to be, do you want to say your location where you were at?
It was, I've got time to think where it was now. I know it was near Mississippi Mills.
Okay.
I've just got to try to quickly figure out where it was.
Because I had one similar, but I think it's a different location because mine was in the States. Like I'm pretty sure yours was Canada.
Yeah, this was the Kintail Mill near Mississippi Mills. That's about an hour drive away.
That's not bad.
That's the guy that invented basketball.
Oh, that's the James Naismith.
Yeah, he's got a museum there. Well, he has
really?
because he's dead. But
oh shit, I need to visit that.
Yeah, so that was at the Kintail Mill where that happened. And I was literally there by myself. My other colleague, or one of my other colleagues, was in the basement waiting for me to bring down a piece of equipment. And that's when I heard it. You can hear the chirp of a smoke alarm that requires a new battery. We knew it wasn't that. You could hear the AC. You could hear the AC in the background. You knew it wasn't that.
There was no CO2 pressure. There was no air gun. There was no
exactly. Yeah. There was no, and yes, we were close to the kitchen, but that was not a typical kitchen sound. It just literally sounded like somebody was trying to get my attention by in at me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We couldn't explain that one. I remember mine. Someone did the thing, and it turned out to be Tony Horton giving power up through my power. And it's a green shake. It tastes minty. So he was just trying to sell me that. And I'm not going to put my plug in, Lee. Don't worry. It's not like I'm saying, mypowernutrition.com and go check out Tony Horton's power up. It does taste good. I take it every day. Wake, shake, and activate, man.
Stop advertising crap.
See how I used that? Yeah. And Tony does not pay me to say that. I just thought it'd be the funny thing to say. And I do take that every day.
Stop going off on a tangent and get back to the subject.
I'm so good at it, though. Who are you, my therapist?
Yes.
I actually did to my therapist before, like when I had one.
Well,
he asked me one question, and I did the avoidance thing, and see what I just did? Yeah, that's my normal life.
Yes, I know. So stop procrastinating and get back to the subject. We will not
procrastinate no more. Yes, sir. So, but you see, as we tried to explain things, like when I was a kid, I had a near-death experience. NDE, which I caught as a near-death experience. Again, 0 out of 10 stars, do not recommend. Not fun, not pleasant, very painful. I had a fever high enough that was like cellular death, one of those things. So was it a hallucination? Maybe. I mean, I was a little kid. I don't know. I do know it was like, the whole bright light, painful, blah, 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 fighting for your sanity thing. And then I was dating someone, so it was always my NDE until last year. And I casually dated someone and no, near death is fun. I'm like, no, mine was fucking horrible. And I started to get upset because we had two opposing opinions on this. I'm like, okay. But then I thought maybe it's just my ego by saying I know what I did versus maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was akin to near death. So I started researching that. And yes, on soft air comes up. I'm like, oh my God, that's the fucking experience I had. The blinding luminous light of forever. that is quite being, get dissolved in your own personality. I'm like, oh my God, that is exactly what I've felt. So it took 42 years, yeah, more or less, for me to go like, okay, it wasn't near-death experience. It was akin to it, but better terminology is here. And it took the ability just to go, we broke up, but that wasn't the reason why. But it was more along the lines of being able to say, maybe I'm wrong. Perhaps I'm wrong. And then try to find a better answer. And the better answer does fit.
And that's one thing as an investigator that you've got to do. You've got to know when you can't explain something, and you've got to know, well, yeah, that noise happened when I brushed past the table and I caught my trouser pocket or my pant pocket on the leg as I went past. You've got to be able to do that, to be able to debunk the obvious.
Absolutely. I think when we first started talking about paranormal investigation, like, I didn't talk much about the pilot. The pilot was supposed to be a real investigation. And this is 2015, maybe 16. But my normal team couldn't show up. Like, one member couldn't show up, the other one could. So I borrowed the crew. I was like, okay, you're part of my team now. 3-person team, let's go. Whatever. You look good on camera. Come on. You're not Taylor, but you'll do. And we did hear some things. We experienced some stuff at the cemetery. But then this is where it gets kind of funky. The director, I guess would he be director? The camera guy's like, oh no, we need to take that again. I'm like, huh? What?
You can't do.
You can't. Is that like you fucking can't? Like, what do you mean we have to do this again? I was like, okay, how about we just get you guys? It was one of those, one of those meters that do the electric magnet ones.
EMF.
Yeah.
EMF, electromagnetic fields. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, So I palmed. I don't have one right now. Good enough. I palmed a cell phone battery, a rechargeable one. I palmed that and I put it on the EMF. Of course, there's a spike. It's a fucking cell phone battery. Of course, it's going to spike. It's picking up the cell phone battery, and I use that. Like, oh my God, look at this, and it felt dirty. It felt like, oh my God, now I'm like recreating a scene that would happen organically, but now I'm recreating it for the TV crew. Which is like, oh God, okay, whatever. And that gave me the idea for, I think we talked about humbug, of like, okay, so if I can do this and be passable at doing it, I bet there's a TV show on debunking people like Houdini used to. Humbug.
And that's the thing about, there's so much evidence and videos and EVPs and things that are on Facebook and YouTube, that if you're a genuine hand-on heart investigator, you can go, I can pretty much guarantee that that's fake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you can do it quite naturally. Even some of the TV shows, like
Ghost Adventures. Sorry.
Paranormal caught on camera. Oh, that door swung open, but you don't see what's behind the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something was thrown, but it was thrown from a different room or down some stairs where somebody could hide.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like the Conjuring house. Not Andrea Perrin. We had a great interview. Love you, Andre. But the people who bought it, I'm not going to mention their names, were like, oh yeah, the door blows open. I'm like, the house is from the 1800s, man. Like, the door is going to move. It's called a draft. Like, what the shit? Like, that's not paranormal. That's just construction. Like, that's easy. Like, no.
And you can be laid in your bed late at night, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
There's no electrical items that are switched on. And if you just listen, you can hear your house moving.
The wires hum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can hear like cut the house cooling down or the house warming
Yeah.
up, depending on time of year.
Yeah.
And you know what that sounds like.
Absolutely.
And if you go to a location and there's people on different floors, if you hear footsteps, you can pretty much rule it out that it's going to be somebody on another floor, unless you've got concrete floors and the chances, and that's going to be harder to replicate.
Yeah.
But you go into some of these older mills and places like that have got wooden floors throughout. And if you're doing investigation on multiple floors, you have to kind of rule it out that it's somebody moving on a different floor, no matter if they're above or below you.
That's one of the things I do appreciate. Of the many things I do appreciate about you and your methods. They're scientific. I know people. I won't mention their names. I'll just say I'm from Las Vegas. Like I went from Wisconsin. I ran away to Las Vegas, and I ended up there for a while. And so if you know anything about that area and the ghost hunting people in that area, there's a reason why I didn't want to get involved with any of that shit. Assholes. God. Again, cold. You know what? I think my cold would go away if I had more power up from Tony Horton.
Stop it.
One scoop a day.
Stop it.
Wake, shake, and activate. We might as well just get a sponsorship at this point. But there's a reason where I know part of that team really, truly believes in the paranormal. Nicest guy in the fucking world. Other part of the team, not so much. It's the Hollywood meets the reality. Hollywood wins. So you see all these things where, we can go out into a jail and say, okay, what is this sound? What just triggered this cat ball? What just triggered this? What was this? What about whatever this is supposed to be? Where they're not going to, they hear a sound. It's the devil coming. No, it's just a fucking sound. You're in a mine shaft, dickhead. It's going to echo. Like a rock will echo throughout. Yeah. That's how sound works.
And I was at an investigation a few weeks ago, just before Christmas, and it was a 2-story building. There was snow on the ground. It's winter in Canada. The ground floor has been redeveloped into how it looked in the 1800s.
Yeah.
The first floor, completely forlorn. Nothing's been done in it in like 50 to 100 years. It's barren. It's like down to the floorboards. Some of the floorboards are up and all this kind of stuff. And there was me and another guy up there, and I'm stood in a, like you've got these windows that are in the kind of like the attic space where you've got the slanty ceiling. I'm stood back in that window space, and I felt a sensation of something that felt like it grabbed my hand. Now, my immediate thought was, it's cobwebs, or something. But then you quickly rule that out because, yes, I'm in this alcove. My hand was hanging out of my pocket. So if there had been any cobwebs, the chances are it had been taken out with my shoulder. And then my next thought was, what else could it be? And then you have to start being rational about it, thinking, well, it wasn't another piece of equipment. My colleague was 5 or 6 feet away from me. There was nothing like a table or chair, anything close by. So your rational explanations are quickly diminishing into then you go, well, I cannot explain what it was. However, it felt like somebody grabbed my hand.
That's exactly right.
And then we have the camera system. We call it the MVR system. And the cameras all over the place. And as soon as that happened, the guy that was on the MVR, he literally saw me, immediately look down and then look around to see what it was. And then after we'd finished, because I actually said it at the time, I felt like my hand had been touched. He was then going, no, I saw you looking around to try to eliminate any possibilities of what it was. And I went, yeah, but I could not explain what it was, but it just felt like somebody grabbed my hand. And that's not going to be like a cobweb, because a cobweb's just going to like brush and then it's going to go because you pulled it off the wall or the ceiling or whatnot. I was nowhere near walls.
It would still be on your hand too.
Yeah. So what was it? We can't explain it.
Can't explain it. And that's exactly it. It's this stuff you can't explain. I moved into a place in Las Vegas. The place came with a knife and a gun. No joke. The delivery people wouldn't come by our place because it had whatever. We found it behind the washer and dryer. And there was this 2 rooms. One room we never went in because everyone who actually went into this room just felt really ill and had just bad. Bleh. So we just like, that's it. No one goes in this room. Is there any rational explanation? No. Was something happen with knife and gun? Maybe. I don't know. But we know without telling anyone, like, hey, why don't you go in that room? You know, everyone got skeeved out by that room. And it was just that area. It gets, you know, in Vegas was not cold. You'd be cold there. You would have really weird visions in there and just, nope. That was our nope out room. Yeah, so you can't, we don't know what happened. We can't explain it though. And that's exactly it. You don't know if it's what brushed you. You can't explain it though.
Yeah, but we always try to rationalize what we experienced.
Yes.
And sometimes you can't.
Yeah. And you have to be okay with that. And not say, I know exactly what this is. This is
exactly. And it's like that term paranormal expert. There's no such thing as a paranormal expert. There's paranormal investigators that have got a lot of experience, but there's no paranormal experts because it's a pseudonym science.
Yeah. There's... Did you say pseudonym science or pseudoscience?
Pseudoscience. I know what I meant. Just because you're the academical, stop.
Academicals.
Yeah.
But that's exactly it. And it's a weird point, but I do have a research background. And so researching this is second nature to me. And finding truth from, you know, the wheat from the shit. The chaff, I should say, not chaff, whatever. But you see all these things and you just know that some of these stories have been going on for a while. I just got done with reviewing Seth Breedlove movie about a cryptid in Michigan. Sure, some of it sounds like bullshit. Absolutely it does. And some of it sounds like, okay, but what is it based on? What's that bullshit based on? It has to be based on something that someone couldn't explain. So they explained the best way they could, Dogman. They explained the best way they could. Is it really a Dogman? Probably not. I don't know. You know. But is it something that looked like a dog? That could probably like a skinnier bear or something like that? Maybe. It's something they couldn't explain then. You know?
And we only have discovered like less than 50% of all the species that's on the planet. So why can't these creatures be out there that we just, and they're very good at hiding from us?
Just like my Tinder dates. They're out there. They're just very good at hiding. Swipe right, ladies. Or left. What is it, left or right? Swipe whichever way you want.
There's a reason for that though, Joe. So how did you then decide that you wanted to talk to people about the paranormal, and how did Haunted Montreal come about?
So you're talking about after the paranormal investigating small group? Okay. From that group, there were, again, some bullshit people, including someone who was trying to fake EVP results. I'm like, no, I have the same raw data you do. How did you get that result unless you fucked with it? Because look at me, I can do all this myself. So you go from that experience to having a haunted MTL, to not doing any investigations after that, to going, holy shit, I really hate the movie The Witch. Sincerely, like it's a good period drama, but it's not a horror movie for me. So I made a post about The Witch, and that took some traction because that was the biggest movie on the fucking planet at that time. And then I was thinking, man, maybe I just review movies and horror stuff like that. So that kind of spun off that way. And then you fast forward through all of that stuff, and you give your staff podcasts that they crash and burn on or whatever. Everyone's learning, no big deal. And then you're like, oh, you know what? I really want to get back to journalism. So let's do a interview podcast that everyone can just come talk to me. And we first started out as horror land. And then the brilliant people, thank you, Melissa. Oh, Melissa Michaels up there. I have an autographed picture of Yellow from her. And it gets people where like T&E channel is putting out UFOs and haunted whatevers and mediums of this. And so you start talking to them and you realize, the real people, right? You know, not just investigators, but the people who had these experiences. And you're like, oh my God, like this is exactly it. And talking to, I'm gonna name drop again, Andrea Perrin from The Conjuring House, from Bathsheba, Search of Evil, only on T&E. You're welcome, free plug. So you see this and you go, okay, this is what they did in the Conjuring movie. And I investigated the Warrens. And the Warrens look fake as fuck. But that's just me saying it. In my opinion, I think Warrens put the thumb on the scale a bit sometimes. I'm not saying they're completely fake. I'm just saying they had their thumb on the scale. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? And maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know them personally. They're all dead. But from what I've seen from their investigation notes, it didn't add up. It just did 2 + 2 = 85. So you're talking to Andrea Perrin, who actually lived in that damn house. She's like, yeah, I remember the Warrens coming over, and then they left. Not because they were afraid. We just didn't want them there. They were trying to spin their own narrative. They had a preconceived notion of what it would be. And she's like, that's not what it was at all. So you actually read Andrea's books, you know, House of Light, House of Dark, vice versa. And you see like, okay, there is people who gone through the experiences, who talk truthfully about them, what they believe that they experience at least, versus what they're trying to sell a product. And there's enough people like that. So as that podcast grew, that's when I started to become more comfortable talking about paranormal myself. Just by being exposed, going, okay, this is not just something I went through as, you know, whatever. This is out there. And talking to the women from my most haunted histories. That helped a lot too.
History Most Haunted. Come on. That's
Sorry,
twice now.
Melissa,
You've got that wrong.
I'm really shit at names. I really am. History's
Corinne,
Most Haunted.
Kelly and Leanne.
Leanne.
See, I know these things.
Yeah, see, there you go. But you talk to them and you see the medium generally. You see all these people coming out and really being able to talk the talk. I don't want to out this person, so I'm going to use... We both have a mutual acquaintance in the UK. I'm not going to say the name. But I'm not going to say the gender. They had paranormal abilities. And we got to talking after my interview, but not on cam, right? So you find out that even people who just come through your life are like, oh, by the way, this also da. Okay. And so it makes you more comfortable. I mean, I do tarot readings now just because I need the money. Kidding. I don't need the money. I don't do it for money. I do tarot readings because I don't kind of keep my skills sharp, I guess.
So the fact, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yep. Because they never said anything about it. They did say power. No, I'm not going to. But Power Up is really damn good.
Because I'm going to
they never said anything on cam, so I didn't want to.
Yeah, I'm going to get you to edit all those parts out.
Oh no, that's been the entire thing. It'll be one big Power Up spot from my power life. That's my power.
Okay, so after Haunted ML, it's not just that was a podcast. So before we move on to some of the other podcasts, because we are running out of time, is there any particular person that you interviewed or subject that you spoke about that was like a jaw-dropping moment for you to go, oh wow, that happened? And you cannot explain it, they can't explain it, but it's kind of stuck in the back of your mind as if somebody asked you this question, this incident comes to light.
Yes. There is a moment where I couldn't explain it, they couldn't explain it. It's how the Barbie movie made so much fucking money. No one could explain it. Was it the pink thing? Was it the marketing program? I don't know.
I'm going to drive to Montreal and kick your ass in a minute.
That's probably the only part that with me works still in my ass.
Answer the goddamn question.
Well, there's the thing. Is like, has there ever been a moment that going, oh my God, I can't explain that? No. However, there's been moments where I absolutely believe the person. I think it's scary. And I think it's like, oh my gosh, that's kind of cool. There are moments where I would talk to someone off cam and going like, oh shit, I wish that was for on cam right now. Where I will have great geeky conversations with them because, for example, I'll give you an example. You have the experience, I believe you brought this in my podcast, was fair game. You had the experience of someone doing a mediumship over the onlines. Correct. The onlines. Jesus, how old am I? Over the interwebs. And for me, it was always like, man, how do they do that if it's online? And then I had this conversation with someone else like, yeah, it's just distance is weird because it doesn't matter. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Distance, why would distance matter at all? It's just this fucking astral thing. It's just one thing of all places. So distance shouldn't matter. Distance is made up. And I actually teach that. Distance is made up. Time is made up as too. And so I think that was more of the eureka moment than a jaw drop. It was more of a, oh, fuck, that, yeah, that's it. That's the answer. 12.
Yeah, because the incident you're talking about, I gave her permission to astral project or remote view, whichever you want to call it. And she was describing something on a shelf diagonally opposite, that there's no way that this camera can reflect with all the pictures. It is right literally over there in the far hand corner. And then she got that spot on. And then something else, I asked her to describe the shower curtain because I can see the bathroom and we have 2 shower curtains. And she literally described them both. She was in California. I'm in Canada. She's never been to Canada. She's never been to Ottawa. She's never been to my apartment. So how is she able to...
She asked me.
Okay, that, yeah.
No. Wouldn't that be the answer, though? Wouldn't that be just a letdown answer? But no, well, I don't know. I'd never met her before.
We've got a mutual friend.
Yes.
Who shall remain nameless.
They have a name.
He does. He does. And he collared me at one of the conventions that you and I normally do in Winnipeg, but you didn't know last year. And he said, I want to tell you something. He spent an entire evening going through mine and my wife's social media to try to see if the things that she had described were in our photographs. And they were not.
Was one of the things they were trying to tell you was they're stalking you?
Yes.
You went through an entire night of your social media? No. You and your wife? That's a restraining order, sir. That is a restraining order.
Good. He's a good enough friend for me to actually ask that question, and he laughed. So, but yeah, he actually tried to debunk it by looking through the photographs of our social media. And the items that she described were not photographed on our social media. Yeah, someone said, well, she may have spoken to the wife, but Kelly doesn't know who I'm speaking to from one day to the next.
Hi, Kelly.
So, hi, Kelly. So she just heaved out of the corner of my eye. So that didn't happen either. So, yeah, for somebody who's in a different country and from one part of the landmass to the other, how could she explain items in my apartment?
Yeah, and they weren't particular items like you had. There would be one thing, there's some string in your junk drawer. I'm like, no shit. Who doesn't have string?
Yeah.
It wasn't that. It was very particular. So I do appreciate, game. I would say that would be a follow-up. For me, I'm like, oh, you're coming back. I'm going to do some other shit. I appreciate moments like that. And that's why I really like your podcast. And I really like the T&E channel because you both give people, I guess myself included, we all give people the honest doubt. Like the honest doubt, like, okay, you say you can do this. Let's talk. And it's just talk, right? And then when they do something that's unexplainable, you're like, oh my God, it's, what can we eliminate first? And you try to eliminate this, and this, and this, and this, and this, whatever's left over. Here's your thumb.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you and I both do when we interview these individuals. Number one, we never call them a liar because it's a personal experience that they've had, or it's an ability that they've got. We don't know what's going on in someone's head, especially not yours.
I don't even know that.
And even today, there's been some extremely blunt comments. However, we're not bullshitting people. We're coming out with what's reality.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that you have to do. Yeah, the amount of people that can go, oh, I saw a ghost. Well, yeah, there was smoke or there was steam, or I can see a devil's face.
I was making tea and steam came up.
Yeah, devil's face in flames, or God's face on toast.
Jesus on my toast.
Everybody knows about pareidolia or auditory pareidolia. Yeah, but people do not accept it. It's like, no, I know what happened. Like lens flare, when people take camera, oh, it was the spirit of my whatever. No, it was lens flare.
No, we've seen enough J.J. Abrams movies to know what lens flare is by now.
Yeah.
And if you ever wanted to, take cortisone. One of the things when I take cortisone, you hear shit. You just hear, or tinnitus itself. Tinnitus itself is going to make you hear shit. Like there's so many things you can check off and kind of do that. Now, I will have a caveat. I agree. Your personal truth is a personal truth. I can never say no because this is what you're thinking. You don't always know what you're thinking, but I should never be able to know what you're thinking. I have a disagreement with, and I think we both might, with the paranormal experts when they go on shows and try to explain someone else's truth. I'm like, oh, you're just lying, dude. You're selling a fucking book. Which is fine. You're selling a book. You're selling a book. I got it. It's not just power up. Hey, look, surviving Gen X. Get it now. But if that's the purpose, then they're not trying to investigate anything. They already have the answer. And I don't like that part of the shows because I can see they're lying.
Yeah, because we have another mutual friend who, when he found out that I was doing the paranormal investigating, he actually said, oh, that's bullshit. And I went, oh, so you've done your own research and you've got evidence that it's crap. He went, no. I said, so how can you say it's bullshit? Oh, it just is. So that's your personal opinion because you do not believe. However, this is how we are doing things. And I gave him some examples of how we do stuff. And then I gave him some examples of stuff that we cannot explain. A couple of the EVPs. And I went, okay, tell me what that was.
Yeah.
And he goes, it was you breathing. I went, dude, I was a paramedic for 13 years. I know how people breathe. And I'm not going to do a double breath straight after I've spoken. Otherwise, I've got a medical problem. So, come on, explain what it is. And he couldn't explain it. And then slowly, during that conversation, you could see, well, okay, yes, maybe there could be some things that are unexplained. And I went, so is it really bullshit or is that just your interpretation? He went, okay, I take it back.
And that's it. Dancing Woolly Masters by Gary Zukav. There is a chapter on nonsense. It's a book on quantum physics, I think. Thank you, Mel Jovovich, for that one. There's a chapter on nonsense, and nonsense in a scientific term, he's saying, is just things that we're not smart enough to understand yet. One person might understand it, the other person doesn't. So like, oh, it's just nonsense. The other person's like, no, this is what's kind of happening or not. And I think that we get a lot of that in the paranormal, where some people say nonsense without actually trying to think it through. And it might not be things that they can grasp yet, but if they exclude the possibility of it, then it goes back to I know versus I don't know. It's always better to say I don't know.
I say, and at least we are in a day and age now where more people are coming out with their stories because they know that the more people are going to listen to them rather than ridicule them.
Absolutely. And that was always the fear, right? Very cool. Very cool stories.
Right, my friend, we are coming towards the end. So please give a shout out to all your other podcasts and then let me know what's next on the agenda politely for Joe Szewczyk.
You looked up the note how to say my name.
I did, because I was going to go Zuzik, but apparently that's not how you say it. But yeah, so give a shout out for your other podcast and then what's on the agenda.
Nakimash. So I have 2 podcasts we've been doing for a couple years. Season 5 starts this year. Amelie Delphi and myself do Streamin Demons, where we discuss any type of streaming medium, including TV shows and movies and audiobooks and games, whatever. Doesn't matter the genre. Check it out. It's naughty. And I also have What's Kraken with Joe Szewczyk, meaning I interview just like this. Hello. In fact, you're my last one. Yay. Where we take people, political, don't matter. It could be horror, don't matter. Movers and changers, artists, everyone is included. And it doesn't matter if what you believe in or what political spectrum you're on, everyone gets a share voice. Or fair voice, whatever. Fair shake. There you go. I have that. And I have, of course, the Scarlet Mysteries Book 1. Scarlet Shadows coming out. It's Jessica Jones meets Veronica Mars. Mystery. All that and more on next Streaming Demons. Nope. Sorry. On the next year.
So when are you expecting Scarlet Shadows to be released?
It's going to editor in about 2 hours. And when it gets released, probably 4 to 6 months after that. So June-ish. And I have a game coming out called Wasted Wisdom, which it's a party game. It's trivia and physical challenges and drinking. Or push-ups, no drinking, all good. Physical is fine. And that will come out, probably around the same time, June, July. A lot of stuff.
Busy man then.
Yeah, and I'm working on my screenplay right now of Humbug. Where a paranormal investigator, Lee, you might like this one. It's where a paranormal investigator goes out and debunks a bunch of things until the one time they can't. And then things go really wrong after that.
And what a final few words to say to finish this. Joe.
Thanks for having my show, man.
I ain't got to that part yet. Thank you very much for being part of this show.
Oh, thanks for having part of the show.
There you go. I knew that it wasn't going to go absolutely normal because you are not.
Is it gone paranormal? That means 2 normals. 2 normals make a right.
The
para.
But thank you for all your assistance in the past and no doubt all your assistance yet to come. And thank you for being a part of Super Paranormal Podcast. Joe, have a great rest of the day, my friend.
Thank you, sir. I've always made it a great day with my Winnie the Pooh and my Power Up by Tony Horton.
Don't you dare.
One more plug.
Don't you dare. Thanks, mate.
I believe it.
Take care.
Thanks much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.